Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shifa Asafira and this is my sixth video for literal reading class. Let me begin. 6. Everyday life in the Soviet Union. The shopping round. The author, Hedrick Smith, was head of the New York Times office in Moscow from 1971 to 1974. The following passage is adapted from Mr. Smith's book, The Russians, which was published in 1976 by Quadrangle, the New York Times Book Company. First, I had heard about customer shortage before going to Moscow, but only when we began to shop there did the Russian customers' problems really have meaning for me. Customer the world over wait in lines, but Soviet lines have a special quality all their own. Typically, the Soviet woman spends 2 hours a day in lines, 7 days a week. Personally, I have known of people who stood in line 90 minutes to buy 4 pineapples and 2.5 hours to buy 3 large heads of cabbage, only to find the cabbage were gone as they approached the front of the lines. Lines can run from a few yards to nearly a mile. Some friends of ours watched a line of people in Moscow signing up to buy rugs. The line lasted 2 days and nights and ran for across all through an apartment development. In spite of all of this, the natural reaction of a Russian woman when she sees a line forming is to get in it immediately, even before she knows what is being sold. However, Soviet lines are more fluid than they appear. In the most stores, for example, shoppers must stand in not one but 3 lines for any purchase. The first to select a purchase and find out its price. The second to pay a cashier somewhere else in the store and get a receipt, and the third to go pick up the purchase and turn in the receipt. 3. Buy in a dairy store one morning, I found out that the game is both simpler and more complex than that. I went to buy some cheese, butter, and bologna sausage, which were in the 3 spare departments, each with its own lines, 9 lines. 4. Rather quickly though, I noticed that experienced shoppers were skipping the first stage. They knew what most items cost, so they went directly to cashier for their receipts. After studying price, I did that too. Then I went to the cheese line, the longest, probably 20 people, to get the worst over with first. I was in line less than a minute when the woman in front of me asked me to hold her space. She darted off the butter and milk lines. The cheese line was moving so slowly that she got her butter and milk and returned before we had advanced 3 feet. I decided to take risks too, and I got back with my butter while the cheese line was still inching along. 5. Then it suddenly occurred to me that all over the store people were getting into line, holding places, laying, returning. Everyone was using the cheese line as home base. That was why it was barely moving. It kept expanding in the middle, so I got the man behind me to hold my place and I went off to buy my bologna. Once again, it worked. It took me 22 minutes to buy butter, sausage, and cheese. But instead of being furious, I felt as if I had beaten the system. 6. This competitive shopping gives an atmosphere of tension Russian life. People barge into store and bump into each other with faces set in combative expressions. "You have to understand," said a kind gray-haired person. that for as long as we can remember, shopping has been a struggle. Life is a struggle. Seventh, there is hardly any effective advertising to help shoppers. Americans complain about the constant commercial in the United States, but they might reconsider if they were exposed to the customer blowout in Russia. A typically Soviet might be if you want to live to a ripe old age and be beautiful, modest, true, and truthful, drink tea. Most newspapers publish without ads. The shopper was not any yellow page or daily newspaper, supermarket, or department store ads to help her decide where to shop. Bribery is widespread. Low paid $18 to $20 monthly. Sorry if I was mistaken. Sales clerks take a portion of affected item and sell them secretly to regular customers who have either left a bribe in advance or can be counted on to pay a high price on delivery. 10 to 15 rubles on 60 rubles raincoat is standard. In 1976, the ruble was equivalent to $1.32. I'm sorry if I was mistaken. Ninth, so common in this practice that the Soviet press is always complaining about it, but it doesn't do any good. Crocodile, the Soviet humor magazine, once showed a department store employee promoting some newly arrived items. Dear customers, in the leather goods department, 500 imported woman purses have been received. 450 of them have been through by store employees. 49 are under the counter and have been ordered in advance. For friends, one purse is in the display window. We invite you to visit the leather department to buy this purse. There are the 9 paragraphs of the 6 topics, and now I will give you the main idea from each paragraph and also the example from each paragraph. First, the main idea from the paragraph 1 is shopping in the Soviet Union was characterized by served customer shortage and incredibly long inefficient lines becoming a defining aspect of everyday life. Example, the author states that Soviet women typically spend 2 hours a day, 7 days a week in line. And the second paragraph, the main idea of second paragraph is despite the hardship of long lines, the instinct to join any line was ingrained in Soviet citizens. Even without knowing what was being sold, the system was also complicated by need to stand in multiple lines for a single purchase. Example, the natural reactions of Russian women was to join line immediately regardless of what was being sold. And the third paragraph main idea is the shopping process is more complex than initially thought, involving multiple lines for different items within the same store. Example, the author goes to a dairy store to buy cheese, butter, and bologna, only to find that each item is in a spread department with its own line, resulting in 9 lines total. The main idea for the fourth paragraph is experienced shoppers have developed strategies to navigate the complex system, primarily by skipping the initial selection line and going directly to the cashier for receipts. Example, Example, experienced shopper know the price and go straight to the cashier for receipt. And the fifth main idea is shopper use a home base line and strategically move between lines, leading to a chaotic and inefficient system. Examples, the author gets someone to hold his place in the cheese line while he goes to buy bologna. And the sixth main idea is the competitive and challenging nature of shopping creates a tense and combative atmosphere in Russian life. Example, like the gray-haired person behind the author said, shopping has been a struggle for as long as they remember, and life is a struggle. And the next main idea is from paragraph 7. The lack of effective advertising adds to the difficulty of shopping, making it harder for customers to make informed decisions. Example, the author contrasts the situation with America, where people complain about constant advertising, suggesting that the lack of it in the Soviet Union is a significant disadvantage. The eighth paragraph is bribery is a common and whispered practice in Soviet stores due to low wage to sell cures and persistent shortage of goods. Example, customer either leave a bribe in advance or pay a higher price upon delivery. And the last main idea from the ninth paragraph is the practice of bribery is so entrenched that even though the Soviet press constantly criticizes it, it continues unbeaten. Example, the Soviet press is always complaining about bribery. I think that's all for my video. Thank you for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.